I understand the need for sympathy and support, but let's not go overboard. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley saying that an attack on Israel is an attack on America. Now, before I get into it, I want to say rest in peace to all the innocent people, the civilians, the soldiers, everyone who has died in the conflict over in Israel. May they rest in peace. Prayers out to their family. However, to say that an attack on them is an attack on us is ridiculous. We are not them. We are America. So if any nation on earth gets attacked, it's an attack on them specifically, not us. Simple. Now, you could say that there are some U.S. citizens over there who were attacked. That's different because they are us, the citizens of the U.S., but a different nation, other people, that's them. We can be allies, we can be friends, we can do whatever, but we are not them. And I think that when people think that, it gets really complicated. We want to kind of butt in, we really shouldn't be butting in. And oftentimes when the U.S. gets involved, things get a lot more complicated than they need be. And we're going to get to that in just one moment. But first, let's check out what Nikki Haley said. And if you want to hear this full clip without my commentary, link as always will be in the description box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
But let's step back because I want the American people to kind of take this in for a second. Just imagine that here the Israelis woke up and communities were bombarded, families were murdered. Women and children were taken hostage, dragged through the streets. The elderly were taken. All of this has happened in front of everyone.
I mean, what she's saying so far is really crazy over there. What's happening? It's really, really bad. And my heart goes out to them. What she's saying here does evoke a lot of emotion. Absolutely.
On top of thousands of rockets that hit Israel. This should be personal for every woman and man in America. Why? Because when they did this surprise attack, when they took these hostages, when they murdered these families, they were celebrating. And what were they celebrating? They were saying death to Israel, death to America. This is not just an attack on Israel. This is an attack on America.
Now, okay, I could understand that line of reasoning, saying that they were celebrating and saying death to Israel, death to America, but America was not attacked. We were not attacked. It's very simple. Now, some are going to say, well, look, ABL, the attack in Israel can also happen here. It can. I mean, we have been attacked by the Muslim world allegedly back in 9/11. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, so I digress. The whole point is that was an attack on us. This was an attack on them. We could be sympathetic and share some kind of mutual feelings, I suppose, but let's not go overboard and say that we were attacked when we were not attacked.
Because they hate us just as much. And what we have to understand is this is the reason that we have to unite around making sure our enemies do not hurt our friends. America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends, just like we needed them on 9/11. That's why Ukraine needs us when Russia's doing this. That's why Israel needs us.
See what I'm talking about? And, here's something I said on the internets, on Twitter. I was saying that Israel is Ukraine for conservatives. Not all, of course. Don't get offended if you're not in that category. But many of us will say we don't want foreign wars. This is the reason why Trump was so popular in 2016. And he's still popular right now because he was a president that did not start any new foreign wars. But Nikki Haley's on television talking about, well, Ukraine needs us and Israel needs us. See, now we're getting back into the George W. Bush, neocon, let's be the world police. I'm not a fan. Again, any innocent person, my heart goes out to them. I want everyone to be able to live life and not be victim of a terror attack or of war or anything like that. But at what point does America say we are not the world's police and we're not going to get involved in every conflict? And as I said, when we do get involved in conflicts, we often make them much worse than what they are. Let's keep on going.
When Hamas and Iran are doing this, and I'll say this to Prime Minister Netanyahu, finish them. Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
All right. So there we have it. Now, if Israel wants to engage in the war, well, they're already engaged in the war. If Israel and Hamas are fighting, then let them fight. You know, some say that Israel should be able to defend themselves. Sure, absolutely. Does that mean that we are the same as them and then that we must defend them? Does that mean that we give them money? Does that mean that we give them troops? Does that mean that we give them intelligence? And obviously, if we were giving them all these things before and they were not able to detect this imminent attack from right there in their own country, then obviously we were not doing a very good job. Now, were we? Now, let's skip ahead here. This is an older clip from Ron Paul. I'm not quite sure when this was, but you got to hear it because he's talking about the foundations of Hamas and why they are doing what they're doing right now. This is a prime example of the U.S. getting involved, trying to be the world police, and we end up making a bigger mess than existed before we got involved. Let's check it out.
What's happening in the Middle East, and in particular with Gaza right now, we have some moral responsibility for both sides in a way, because we provide help and funding for both Arab nations and Israel. And so we definitely have a moral responsibility, and especially now today, the weapons being used to kill so many Palestinians are American weapons, and American funds essentially are being used for this.
Now let's pause for a minute. The weapons being used to kill Palestinians or even to kill Israelis come from Americans. Isn't that what's happening right now? Because the rumor is that some of the Afghanistan weapons that were left behind are now going to be present in that conflict. Now, I can't confirm that, but Ron Paul is confirming that weapons are used in the conflict beforehand. And I would not be surprised if it's the same thing happening right now, that American weapons are being used in this conflict on both sides.
But there's a political liability, which I think is something that we fail to look at, because too often there's so much blowback from our intervention in areas that we shouldn't be involved in. You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel, because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you say, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas.
Because let's be clear, Hamas is the government of Gaza. It's not just some terrorist organization. I mean, you could call it that if you want to, and that's fine. But the reality is that that's their government. They elected them in a free and open election. Okay. A thing that the U.S. encouraged.
So we first indirectly and directly through Israel help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant. So we have to kill them. You know, it just doesn't make sense. During the 80s, you know, we were allied with Osama bin Laden. And we were contending.
And Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi. And the list goes on. And Manuel Noriega.
With the Soviets. It was at that time our CAA thought it was good if we radicalized the Muslim world. So we financed the madrasa schools to radicalize the Muslims in order to compete with the Soviets. There's too much blowback. There's a lot of reasons why we should oppose this resolution. It is.
God bless Ron Paul. We did not deserve him in government. Shout out to the OG Ron Paul. Obviously, that's Rand Paul's father. So what he's saying right there is right on point. I mean, where's a lie? And I'm going to just close with this. I'm not some kind of anti-Semite. I don't hate Jews. I love everybody. I'm not a racist person. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm just saying, why does I'm asking, why does America need to be involved with all of the world's conflicts? And when we do get involved, obviously, we don't have the best track record in the world. You see what we did with Libya. Okay, we delete Gaddafi, and then you flood the entire Europe with all these migrants because Libya was the country that was stable, keeping the migrants at bay. Okay, now you want to get involved in Afghanistan, 20 years. How many billions, if not $1 trillion? What did we accomplish? What was it for? I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Again, this is part of the reason why Trump was very popular, because he was against all this. And now we're kind of regressing right back into that, and we're not going to get positive results as a result. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what Nikki Haley said about an attack on Israel being an attack on America? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. What's your take on what Ron Paul said? Do you think that he was correct, incorrect? Were there any lies that he spoke? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I have been against foreign intervention. I've been against America being the world's police for years and years. Before Trump came along as a politician, I was against all this George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, John McCain. I was against all that. And it's like, because of this attack on Israel, we're regressing back into that. I don't want to go back down that direction. I feel for all the innocent lives that have been taken in wars, in wars all over the world. Okay, you're talking about Azerbaijan, Armenia, Israel, Ukraine, Russia, everywhere. I feel for them. But at a certain point, we need to kind of fall back as Americans and not try to resolve all the conflicts, because as I have shown, we often just make things worse. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.